This is the Elsa Show.
Well, hello, everybody. Hello, Clay. How are you today?
I'm good. I am just back from a week-long family. One of my sisters just had a birthday, and we had a high school graduation, and my nephew got his Eagle Scout, and I was up your way, but I had zero spare time. I couldn't even make it to you. I was up in that, and I was chock full, but I drove.
Oh,
we drove, and to have cars instead of renting cars.
Sure.
But we drove, and it's like 13 hours back yesterday.
I was just going to ask you what the drive time was from your neck of the woods to my ish neck of the woods. 13 hours.
13 hours. Yeah. So,
ouch.
Yeah, I'm good. A little tired, but I'm good.
Yeah. You earned that tiredness, but it's a good kind of tired, right? Family time, all that kind of stuff is it's all good stuff. So that's good. Yeah. I was not as fortunate to get to do such fun things. I was actually under the weather all week. And so it worked out fine in that regard. I would have been so bummed if you were able to get together and I was, a train wreck, which I was for a few days. I am on the mend, back to pretty close to normal functioning. Let's put it that way. I've still got that low key headache that just doesn't want to get lost, but that's okay. That's all right.
Normal's a relative term anyway.
Exactly. I mean, like, what's normal? What is normal, please? Speaking of not normal, everything that's going on in the world is not normal. I guess it's our version of normal, right? Because it's just constant. No surprise to anyone whatsoever if you've been following the show, which I know that you all have, faithfully, loyally, religiously watching every week with us. That we're starting, lately. I don't know how many weeks, Clay. You could probably guess better than I could. How many weeks?
I think we're 12 or 13 at this point.
All right, 12 or 13 weeks that this has started our top of the hour each time. We are talking once again, or still, about Iran's, and I guess we're putting it in air quotes, peace deal. So synopsis here, we're talking about this because it never really leaves the headlines. After the framework, inspectors are supposedly coming back. Let's see what else. Oil's flowing a bit, but Trump is popping off some warning shots kind of left and right. Let's see. I don't know. I mean, we all want this to be done and over with. We're seeing positive impacts on our in our gas pump prices there. So, those are positive reflections of things going on. But Trump hasn't really he hasn't pulled any punches here. He's let some shots get fired for sure. And also with the gas pump prices, right? Yeah. I mean, he was calling them out for the gouging, right?
Yeah. So you hit it. IAEA, the International Atomic blah 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 blah. The inspectors, right? Mm-hmm. They're going to come back in. The chief of the IAEA said today, like, there's no rush, which I disagree with completely.
Yeah.
But they are going to be allowed to come back in, do their inspections, oversee the destruction of the radioactive material, which has been kind of the center of this whole thing. So that's happening. There is no coming from Israel.
Mm-hmm.
The Israelis are saying there's been no pressure from the U.S. for them to stop fighting Hezbollah in Lebanon,
mm-hmm.
even though Hezbollah is an Iranian-backed terror organization. And Iran said, we're not going to agree to this peace deal, if Israel continues their aggression and all. And so that's been a point of friction, and it continues to be. We talked about it last week.
Mm-hmm.
President Trump kind of went off on Bibi a little bit.
Yes.
Which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
In fact, I think in this case, it's overdue. But so that is still a point of contention. What else we got? Mm-hmm. So our House of Representatives passed one of those stupid, useless resolutions yesterday that mean absolutely nothing. That basically directed President Trump to withdraw all U.S. military forces from the from the region, anybody that's in danger of being, this part of this conflict with Iran. It means absolutely nothing. In fact, they wasted our time by even going through that crap, but they did it.
Yeah.
But you're right. The strait is open. There are ships flowing. Oil, of course, is down. The price is down. I think yesterday was $73 a barrel, I think.
Was it? Okay.
But at the pump, it's not going down as quickly as it went up, as is the case always, right?
Always, every time.
Yeah, we always see it, it spikes whenever anything crazy happens, and then it's the slow decline on the backside. I actually saw a guy who claimed to be an economist from Dublin who said this is normal economics. And I was like, no, it's not. This is exactly what President Trump is talking about, which is price gouging.
Yeah.
Right? If you're gonna gouge somebody on the front side, in other words, if you're buying, and most folks understand this, if you're buying barrels of oil and it goes up all of a sudden, the price of gas at the pump goes up immediately, even though the high priced oil has yet to be shipped, refined, turned into gasoline and then, transported to the pumps. But yet when the price goes down per barrel, we don't see the rapid decline commensurate with the rapid incline. So, or increase. So that's, that's what President Trump said, that these oil companies are gouging people at the pumps. Did he say something about trying to get DOJ to investigate them or something like that?
I think he did. I think he did. I don't know if that's going to happen, but I think he did.
I'll tell you a very strange, not strange, but surprising statistic number that I saw was have been 600 ships stranded.
Whoa.
The backside of the strait.
Okay.
Full, empty, like there are just various 600 ships.
Wow.
And the strait is open. They can only evacuate about 50 per day. So it's going to take about 2 weeks.
Wow.
To get all of those ships that are stuck back there to the other side of the strait to do what it is that they're going to do.
Yeah.
And then, by the way, they've got to manage inflow at the same time because you've got things coming in. So, this is there was a lot of, did you see the consternation about the term MOU? I was surprised at the number of people.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit about that, please. And everybody else who doesn't really know.
Yeah. So memorandum of understanding, this is something that we used in the military a lot. And it's a formal agreement between organizations that says you're going to do this, we're going to do this, you're going to do that, we're going to do this, right? And it kind of lays out the basics. Now, it doesn't go into detail. And in this case, my belief is that it's the MOU, Memorandum of Understanding, which is what MOU stands for, outlined, listen, we are going to negotiate. You are going to stop shooting people. We're going to stop, closing the strait, the kind of general guidelines, but the nuts and bolts of it still had to be negotiated and then signed off on. So really it was a step in the process of moving forward. It wasn't a signed and delivered peace deal. But people got wrapped around this MOU thing, one, because they had never heard of it, and two, because nobody in the media explained it. Literally. In fact, my guess is this is one of those acronyms that even the media didn't know, and they just kept using it because it sounded cool.
Yeah, it was probably like one of those things like, it sounds like we're supposed to know what that means. So let's just act like we do. Yeah. Which right. Listen, I've done things like that. I've done that. Yeah, no, absolutely. Like, I don't know. Yeah. I hate when people call you out too, by the way. Don't do that. Don't call people out when they act like they know something. Be like, you know what that means? And you're like, nope. So cruel. But that's definitely one of those things. And honestly, Clay, I did not know it before, I was doing the research for the topics. I knew it for about 3 seconds while I was reading it, and I had already forgotten it by the time gone. Yeah. My brain is very, very selective. It keeps only what I absolutely need in it, and that is it. And that apparently was not one of the things my brain decided that it needed. But
It's
but it is good to know. We do need
yeah,
to know.
it's such a part of my vocabulary, and anybody
Yeah,
who's ever been in the military, because we do memos for everything, right? So we have
right.
memorandum of understanding, memorandum of instruction, memorandum for record. We memo
Mhm.
everything. So
Yeah,
MOU is common vernacular, and I think governmentally, I think it's also common vernacular, but it's not one of those things that makes its way into the media very often. And
sure.
again, I think the media just used the phrase because they heard it
Mhm.
from people in positions of influence and decided to go with it. But listen, folks, we said this last week, and by
Mhm.
the way, the 19th was the day that all of this was supposed to happen. The 19th
Mhm.
was supposed to be, and what's today? Oh, by the way, folks, it's Wednesday the 24th, and we are recording at approximately 4:30 on the East
Yep.
Coast. But the 19th, all of this was supposed to take effect, and Vice President Vance is still negotiating.
Mhm.
And we'll see when this actually kicks in.
Right.
I had no illusions that the 19th was going to be the date. Like there was no way that was feasible. What do you think of him being the primary negotiator for this?
Yeah, interesting. I know he's taken some flack for it because they're like, what experience does he have? He's not prepared for this, blah
The
blah blah.
vice
And he
president.
actually, it's funny. I was going to save this for when we talk more fully, but we're going to kind of merge the two. I think, he, as most of you know, and of course Clay, he's been making his rounds to all of the pundits and stations and all of those things. He's got a book out or coming out. Is it released? I don't even know if it's released yet, but he's got a new book out. And so he's making the rounds and he's taking the hard questions. And one of the stops that he made, among many, was to the cackling hens over at The View. And there was a lot of feelings about that, of course, right off the bat before even watching it, which, I even was one of the people that are like, why would you even give these people the time of day? And then, of course, the counter to that is like, because he's not afraid to. He's not afraid of these women.
Good at it.
He's extremely good at. He's
Yeah.
extremely good at. We're going to talk about how good at it he was after I show you this clip. So,
Well, before you
it
jump into the clip, though, the one
sure.
thing I want to say about him being the primary negotiator, right? And
Mhm.
he's got help from Rubio, but Secretary
Yeah.
Rubio has got like a million other things to do, right? The guy
Hence the
literally
memes.
lives that meme of like,
Yes.
what job is the president going to give me today? Um,
Right.
but people have asked why President Trump is the one,
Hmm.
isn't the one
Isn't the one.
negotiating this, and you never go all, especially with that culture.
Yeah.
You never bring in the top dog until the very, very end,
Hmm.
if you don't have to. You always keep that kind of in reserve in case that you have. Then you've got somewhere to go. You
Sure.
also disassociate the president, and you also have the ability to buy yourself some time. If
Hmm.
they bring up something crazy like, "Hey, we want you guys to fund, free food for all of Iran for the next 20 years," you could listen. I got to go back and talk to the president about that,
Sure.
as opposed to him sitting in the room where he's got to essentially, face the problem with zero
Right.
delay.
Right. Without any time to
Right.
really give it
There's a
the time.
tactic. It's a
Yeah.
tactic is putting Vice President Vance in there. I think he's fully capable. In fact, I think
Oh yeah.
if it's not him, it's got to be Rubio. It's got to be one
Right.
of the two negotiating this. And I think he's doing a great job.
Absolutely.
He's racking up the frequent flyer miles. I could tell you that. He's
He
been back
sure
and
is.
forth a bunch. Yeah.
My goodness. Yeah. Lots of travel, lots of
Yeah.
FaceTime with these people. Yeah. I think, I mean, why are you the vice president if you're not going to be doing these
Yeah.
things? You know what I mean? So of course
For
he's
sure.
going to do it. And whether he's qualified to do it or not, or capable of doing it, well, I guess we're going to find out. We're going to find out. That's his job. He's in the position. So do your job.
That is correct.
And I love him. And I say that as a fan, but also as a realist and a practical person. Like, this is your job. Let's see how you handle it.
Yeah.
And if you drop the ball or screw up, well, we're going to deal with it then, won't we?
Yep.
But he gave a cheeky, fun little response to that criticism of him, being capable or being the one to do it. So here that is.
President Trump said yesterday that he was going to blame you if the talks of Iran go sideways. Are you worried that he's going to make you the fall guy?
No, not at all. I mean, I think the president was joking, but as he often does. But no, I think, look, the entire team has worked very well on this, and we've got this thing to a very good place for the American people. Now, I have seen some progressive criticisms of me personally saying, what experience does the vice president of the United States have with hostile, high-stakes negotiations? And I would point those progressive critics to the fact that just 2 days ago, I spent over an hour on The View. So I actually have great experience in very hostile negotiations, and I've used that. I mean, look, Joy Behar is way tougher than the Iranians, and she and I are best friends now. So we're going to get to a good place here.
I love it. I love it. It's fun stuff. Yeah. So, in regards to all of that, initially, like I said, I did not love that he was giving these women the time of day. And then, with a little more reflection, it was like, no, it's really good because, one, optics, if he declined or if he refused to go on, whatever the case would be, then they've got that. Then they're like, oh, he's too scared to come on. He's too chicken. Because, that's exactly where they'd go.
Sure.
He can't take the heat from us women. Like, give me a break. You're child's play, ladies. And then, the second thing that I actually ended up finding more interesting about this whole, going on The View episode there is the whole him and Joy Behar relationship, friendship that came of this, or rather, shall we say, the fangirling on her part, which obviously that's an exaggeration. I don't think it's by much, though. She walked away, openly, basically stating, she said to him on air or something to the effect of you're not so bad, or something to that effect. And then after the fact, she had stated, essentially that he was all right. He was okay. She liked him, she liked him well enough. And then her co-host did exactly what the left does to their own, which is go on the attack, because she dared to say something nice, to find a positive in somebody who they deem an adversary or the enemy or a terrible person. So they didn't get to pigpile and just spew their venom and hatred towards him just simply for existing. They had to turn it on her, and they were, good naturedly razzing her and kind of giving her, oh, he's your best friend. Oh, you love him now. Oh, you love him. And, I wish it's not going to be. But what it should be is a little bit one of those wake up calls that so many people get that, have been long term on the left until the left turns on them for not falling in lockstep. And, that was just a taste of what that looks like. And she really did get the kinder end of the stick when it comes to that type of behavior. But should be enough for her to kind of go, hang on a second. Just because I said I liked him, like that he was a nice guy, you're coming for me? Really?
Yeah.
But whatever. I mean, I'm not going to hold my breath on that, but.
Yeah. So he is making the rounds. He did The View. I watched him on Gutfeld, again, more for him than Gutfeld. I watch Gutfeld for everybody but Gutfeld, truthfully.
That's so funny.
And he has some great guests on. And even his normal crew, Tyrus and Kat Timpf and the rest of them that rotate in and out are usually really good. But he was on and he did a great job. And it was right after The View. I think the initial with him and Joy Behar was during one of the early commercial breaks in the show. She did turn and, at least this is the way I remember him relaying the story, is that she turned and looked at him and said, "You're pretty good at this." And that was kind of the initial, and she caught some flack for that. Like the co-hosts are like, "Don't say that to him. Don't," and he just kind of laughed them off. But there's a lot of speculation that as he's making the rounds, and and I know he's doing it, part of it with the book, right? So the book is released, and it's what is it? Finding My Communion, I think it's called. Communion, Finding My Way Back to Faith. So that's what he's talking about. That's the name of the book. So he's pimping the book a little bit, but he's also, he's the vice president. He's not getting away from being the vice president. But there's a lot of speculation that if you look at him, He's lost some weight.
Mm-hmm.
He was got a little more color. Now that could be
Yep.
from spending a lot of time, traveling.
Sure.
But he's lost some weight. He's a little thinner in the face. He's got some
Mhm.
color to him. People are calling it a glow up. But and now, of course, the speculation is happening about his 2028 run.
Sure.
Is it going to happen? Is this the beginning of his run for president in 2028? And I would tell you, yes, I think that's exactly what this is.
Right. As well it should be, really. I
Sure,
mean,
why
this
not?
is you're doing your audition this entire time. This is your audition and you should be
Yeah.
treating it that way, essentially.
Yeah, and like you said, he's also at the same time bouncing this very important negotiation,
Right.
which is going to be, in his back pocket as a presidential candidate. That's the hard part, is that him to Rubio, it's a coin flip, because
It
they're
really
both
is.
going to have this
So
very
tough.
deep resume that President Trump is facilitating. He is allowing them. He's putting them in positions where they're taking
Yeah.
responsibility for this stuff, and they're going to have both of them super deep resumes for domestic and international issues and all of these other things that nobody on the left, no candidate that they bring can compare to what either one of those two have done in this job. So
Yep.
good for him. I think it's awesome.
Yeah.
I do, that View appearance was ballsy, because that could have been a disaster, and I give him a lot of
Easily.
credit.
Yeah. No, he handled everything that they threw at him. He handled with intelligence and grace and intellect, of course. Yeah, I mean, I can't find any fault. As you well know, and anybody who watches the show well knows, I am a diehard Rubio fan, currently, and I hope that stays that way the entire time, forever. But having said that, I have exactly zero against Vance. I think he also is truly wonderful. I will be ecstatic with either one of them as our potential presidential nominee. Either one, I would be thrilled. I just simply have a deeper connection and affection for Rubio. I don't know. I always jokingly, maybe even half seriously, call it the Cuban connection. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's the Cuban connection. I can't help it.
And I think for me, I'm probably a 60-40 Rubio. And I say that because the one thing that I haven't seen from Vice President Vance, not that he's not capable, but we haven't seen it yet, where Secretary Rubio, I won't say he uses it regularly, but he uses it enough that we all know about it, is he's got some bite to him. Like, he is not afraid to look at somebody and go, hey, that's wrong. Here's the fact. And he does it in a very, it's even, but it is a very, there's some bite behind his tone. Right.
Yes.
And that's not an accident. I have not. And that's a great tool to have, as a diplomat, especially, and as a leader.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that from Vice President Vance. Again, not that he doesn't have it and not that he's not capable. We just don't know, because we haven't seen it. And so, I think the closest we came was Zelensky, whatever it was, a year and a half ago.
Yeah, he got a little spicy there.
He got a little spicy, but, that's why I said I think it's a 60-40 for me for Rubio. But this is definitely Vice President Vance announcing to the world very informally that he is a presidential candidate for 2028. I think you can't ignore it.
Yeah. And I hate to go superficial, but I will. Optics wise, what a beautiful presidential sight to see him and his wife and soon to be 4 beautiful kids, and what a beautiful sight that is. And again, I mean, I'm proving my point here. I am such a Rubio fan. And I'm also such a Vance fan, but I really like what you said. I think that's a really valid point, and something to be watching for with him. How does he handle those tense conflicts, interactions, and it's not that I don't think he can hold his own, but it'll be just a matter of how he does it. Right, Rubio, like you said, he has that very particular, almost deadpan, very, very direct. Straight face style. Vance can do things in a little more of a snarky kind of, messing with you kind of tone. Can he do that sharp direct comeback. I don't know. We'll see. I'm enjoying this part of it. I enjoy. Otherwise, nothing else do I enjoy about the political realm. I find it, mostly abhorrent, to be honest with you, which is always ironic, isn't it? Like this is what I spend a good portion of my time talking about, or we spend talking about the and I despise it. I just find it so unpleasant and gross. But we're not done with it, guys. We're not done. We're gonna move on. We're gonna move on to Starmer. You called this. I mean, we've been talking about this loosely for what, maybe 2 weeks?
Yeah, two and a half.
Right?
Yeah, maybe this is the third show, probably. Yeah.
Yeah. So he's out. He's resigning. He's been pushed out. I mean, let's be real, right? It was a short, bumpy ride. Polls tanked. Party revolted. Andy Burnham is waiting in the wings. Which I mean, correct me if I'm wrong here, but I mean, really no better, right? A same party, same
party.
Not kidding. You're just trading one guy for another that really isn't going to be of any help or benefit to us or our relations, I don't think, right? I would love to be wrong. I mean, I honestly don't know.
Yeah. So another, right, doing the research on this, I didn't realize, I knew that it had been a high turnover rate in recent years on PMs. But what I didn't realize was, they did Brexit 10 years ago, right?
That was 10 years ago?
2016, they left. They have had 7 PMs since Brexit, right? So in the last 10 years, they've had 7 different prime ministers. Like, could you imagine the upheaval and the turnover in this country if we had 7 presidents in 10 years?
Yeah, that's insane.
Absolutely insanity.
It's such a bizarre way of doing it. I don't get it.
You're right. Andy Burnham. So he is the mayor of Greater Manchester. I don't know how expansive that is, but that's his current job. They owe nominations. Labor Party owes nominations by the 9th of July. He is expected to be the guy that gets nominated. And you're right. By reputation, we don't live there, but by everything I've read, he is more of the same.
Yeah.
The criticism is, they've got a conservative party like we do. Labor is more of their, closer to our Democratic Party, but there's a Reform Party that is growing in momentum.
Yes.
And the accusation is that Labor very much, like, if the DNC is not studying everything that's going on in England right now, they're idiots, because everything, they're a couple of years in front of us, but everything that they're doing, we're behind them. We're doing it. We're on the same path, or at least the Democratic Party is on the same path. And so the accusation from the Reform Party especially is that Labor has turned their back on the working class, which is their base. So think about it, right? Our base, the DNC's base for years was union, working class, middle class people. And we know that they're now turning their back on them.
Yes.
Right? They are
completely.
Yes. And in all the same ways, right? It's prioritizing immigrants. It's prioritizing criminals. It's DEI. It's all of these things that, we are rapidly figuring out are more harmful than they are good. Yeah. And that's what's killing the Labor Party. And Reform's calling them out on it. And that's why they're gaining momentum, is that they're the third party, kind of I don't know if you want to call it Tea Party or even just being independent. But they're the ones standing kind of on the side, jumping up and down and yelling and going, look, like this is exactly what we're talking about. And so
is there a chance that they could upset this whole little apple cart, or no?
I don't know. I think probably in the same way that Ross Perot, and we were afraid that, Kennedy was going to do in this last election, they might be disruptive enough to one party or the other that they take votes away. But I'm not as well versed in that as I am in ours. So I don't know. But, this is another one. Like, did you hear the 16-year-old, 11-year-old thing that's going on over there?
Oh, yes, they cannot. What is it? They can't say anything on social media, right? Or they can't have social media,
16 years and under, or no,
but
under 16, you can't have social media.
but you can
16
get.
and 17 year
Mhm.
olds, you can have it, but it's very, very restricted in what accessibility you have and all those other things, right?
But they can
So
all
they're
get hormone, right?
puberty blockers. They're doing
Yeah.
this is no kidding. Human experimentation on puberty blockers, 12-year-old boys, 11-year-old girls. They are experimenting on them long term. They're going to feed them puberty. They're asking for volunteers.
It's-
They're going to feed them these puberty blockers, and then they're going to see the psychological, physiological, even environmental effects on their socializing and those kinds of things. They are literally, and this is authorized by the government, they are doing human
I can't.
experimentation on these kids. So at 11 years old, you can raise your hand and say, hey, I want to get puberty blockers. And the government says, cool, come on over here.
Right.
But leave
But
your
you can't
social
post
media
a
at
meme
home.
on social media.
Yeah, until you're 16. Like, it's the most absurd. But this is exactly what reform's talking about.
Yeah.
These are the stupid things that Labor Party is leading the way on, that the average working class Brit is like, this is nuts. This is crazy.
It truly is. It is so monstrous. It is flat out evil. It's just so shocking to witness and to see, to your point a little just a few moments ago, like, we're not far behind. We're just lagging a few steps behind. And I don't mean that in a positive way by any means, but they've got it going on there. We've got to go, you look at New York, of course, and we'll be talking about that, of course. You look at this and it's like, how do people not see this? How is this even happening? That's the part that blows my mind, Clay. Every single time, every single day, as I read and watch these things, like, one, how does history not teach you anything? How does common sense not teach you anything? How does morality and, ethical everything, how does love and care for and the desire to protect children not trump everything in your minds? How are people allowing this? And I honestly, Clay, I can't wrap my brain around it. Like, my brain refuses to wrap around how we're allowing this to happen after everything we've seen throughout history, what we see happening right now to these kids. It's the most depressing thing imaginable.
Yeah. So I, again, did this family thing this past week, and I was around not just nieces and nephews and kids and like friends of kids and kids from your neck of the woods, right? From in and around New York City. And I caught some great tidbits from them. Things about Mom Donnie and hearing, 18-year-olds and below, 20-year-olds and below talking about him, saying, he, the youth, and when they say the youth, they're talking about people older than them. They're talking about 20-year-olds, right?
Okay.
He appeals to them. And that's, but the younger, right? Those kids who are not yet of voting age, there's going to be a pendulum swing. And we're already starting to see indicators of it, because you're starting to see more young men and women, more young men especially, going back to the church. Churches, religion in general. But you've also got the Turning Point USA swing, and even those kids who aren't affected by that, who are even younger than that, are looking at everything that's going on, and they're saying, this is crazy. And so there is this, I am hopeful that there's this generation of common sense that's approaching voting age. The funniest thing I heard was a kid who said, I asked, I said, well, you guys are all saying that Mom Donnie is, appealing to, younger people in their 20s. I said, what's that all about? And this kid goes, 2 words, free shit. And I was like, and this is a high school kid.
Yeah.
Like, he sees, that what this is all about in politics that's going on. So I am a little hopeful. I know it's a snippet. I know it's just a very small sample size, but to see that, across kids from different regions, because you have family that came in from out of town and other places. But to see that coming out of kids that age was pretty hopeful.
Yeah. It's funny. I was just talking with someone earlier today, and we were discussing how, our perception as a society, our perception of the youth, and I'm talking about the teens, preteens through early 20s. We'll call that the youth, right? And our perception of them is largely based on these jackasses that we see on social media and in the news, protesting, anything and everything that there is to protest, getting the free stuff, all of those things. That is the slice of life we keep seeing all over the place. And then, then we have to remind ourselves, like you just gave the reminder, you were talking to an actual living, breathing youth
Yeah.
who is, who's saying these very intelligent, practical things. I was talking to a young woman. She's 25, I think it is. This girl, her head is on so straight. Like, I mean,
Good.
I would go to her for advice because she is so squared away. Like, she has got it together. She's got her goals set, and she knows what she wants out of life. She's working towards achieving all the things that she wants. She's respectful. She's kind. She is like all of the things. She's the perfect girl. She really is. But she's taken, guys. No, I'm not going to fix you up with her. She's she's wonderful, but she is, and she's got that. She understands the balance. She's worked towards her career that she's in right now. She's done all the things for that, but she has this timeline in her mind. She's like, I want to be a wife, and I want to be a mother, and I want to be a stay-at-home mom, and then when they get to a certain age, then I will work part-time. Like, she's just got it all set, and I think she's actually a very good example of how much of that there really is out there.
Yeah,
Loves her
she's not an
family,
anomaly.
everything.
She's not an anomaly at all.
Yeah, she's really not. And
Yeah.
we kind of brainwash ourselves accidentally into believing that she is. And we have to keep reminding ourselves that there's so much more than what we're seeing on stupid social media and all that stuff. And don't we all have to go outside and touch grass. And I'm sure we're all sick and tired of that phrase. I'm not tired of it yet. I still like the touch grass. So I'm going to keep saying it. Sorry. But we've mentioned a couple of times here in this New York. So let's kind of skip over and go right to that. Ooh, now we got to swing that pendulum back to the other side, to the negative, right? And just acknowledge this. So it was a big night in New York primaries. Radical left, man, took over the Democrats. Mamdani and the far left socialists crushed the establishment last night. Big losses for Hakeem Jeffries and Nancy Pelosi's hand-picked candidates.
Yep.
There were loud boos. I didn't see this. I'm just reporting what I read here. Erupted when Jeffries appeared on screen. I guess it's fair to say, like, the Democrat Party is kind of like in full civil war with each other right now. Not to say that the Republican Party doesn't have their stuff going on too. I mean, there's a lot going on in both parties that, for the parties themselves, is probably not good. I think we're a little bit better off than they are, as far as direction of things. I like to believe. But my goodness, I mean, for the Democrat Party, you either have your old school Democrats who, traditional Democrats, I guess you'd call them, or you have these flat out socialists. They're not democratic socialists. They're socialists, period. Like, let's stop falling into their fluffy names to make everything sound more palatable, right? Like, no, you're socialists, period, end of story. So yeah, I mean, clearly no lessons are being learned there. It's going to get way darker before it gets lighter there. This is an indication of it, obviously. But yeah, correct me if I'm wrong, Clay, but this feels like the absolute fall of the Democrat Party as everyone once knew it, right?
Yeah, we've said this a million times, is that, used to be elections fought for the middle. And you had the extremists on both ends. The vast majority of America was in the middle. They leaned one way or the other, but the middle was where the election was won. And it was not hard to sway, but it was a big body of people, right?
Right.
Now it is a very small body of people, and it is harder to sway. Our national elections basically hinge on about 6 states, right? All those swing states. But now with infighting in the political parties themselves, the question is what does that look like? It was an hourglass kind of shape on its side. The middle was real thin and the sides were but now it's kind of broken. And like you said, it's on both sides, Republicans too. But this is a brand of extremism. What people haven't figured out about Mamdani is that he really has no power. Like he really has no power. Right. He's declared a whole bunch of things for the city of New York. None of them have come to fruition.
No.
And he keeps saying he's going to do this, he's going to do that. And the governor of New York is like, you have no ability.
You're not doing that. Yeah.
Right.
Sit down, Junior.
But as soon as he puts his name behind somebody, and he finds people like him,
right.
And they win.
Yeah.
So, right. And that's what happened last night in the primaries, is that the socialist Democrats.
Yeah. And by the way, here is it's just a picture, it's not a video. Just so we all know, just so we're all clear, this is a Mamdani pick. This is for those of you listening and not watching, this is one of the nominees, I guess, or whatever.
She won.
Yeah, that's right. She won. The writing is too small. I can't even read her name. So sorry, guys, you're going to have to find her your own. But what she said was, this is a tweet that she put out. It says, "I forgot to get a napkin, so I just wiped my hand on the American flag behind me." So, these are the people that we're talking about here, who openly, gleefully disdain, I mean, that's an understatement, hate America and what America represents and who we are as Americans. They hate it. They want it destroyed. They want socialism to be the only game in town. And New York is saying, okay, cool. Sounds good. But I will say, I don't really believe that that's the case, to be honest with you. I think what it is that, the migrant population, all of these, and then you have that, all of these people moving into the area that, have no business being there. They're voting, they're doing all of that. And then of course you have the bogus, election fraud that's going on. All of this is, the rig is in, right? I mean, what's the saying? No, that's not what they say. The rig is in. I don't know what they were saying, or the fix is in. I don't know. Yeah, there you go. But yeah, I mean, I think those are the real factors, because you cannot convince me that real New Yorkers are like thinking this is a good idea. I think they're just simply overrun.
The problem is that the quote unquote real New Yorkers are leaving.
Yes.
And they've seen the stupidity and they're leaving. And so when they leave, they take their money and their business with them. And as they do that, and I know there's a lot of people that don't believe in trickle down economics. You may not believe it in a positive sense, but you can't deny it in a negative sense. So when a wealthy business owner leaves and they take their business out of the city, it's not replaced by something else.
Right.
Like those jobs are gone, that revenue is gone, that income is gone, all of those things leave.
Yeah.
And so New Yorkers are getting sick of seeing this, as they are in some other places are a little slow to move, Seattle, San Francisco, and some others. But the same thing is happening in a lot of these major metro areas. And so what you're left with is exactly what you're talking about. It's a smaller voting population. It's a smaller group. And they are the people who are, voting without ID. It's fake votes.
Yeah.
It's a lot of those things. But there are some people, unfortunately, who vote for this because they don't know any better. And you asked earlier about, why do, like, if you don't study history, how do people who know history allow these things? Well, they don't.
Yeah.
I mean, look at our public education system, right?
Right.
The PSs in every major metro area are atrocious. And so, there's an argument to be made that they keep them that way to keep people dumb so that they keep voting for this stupid stuff because they don't know history. And that's kind of what we're seeing. And again, back to England, they're a couple of years in front of us, but this is the direction that New York is going. It's the direction that LA is going. It's the direction San Francisco, Seattle, Portland, Chicago, and a couple of others are going. And it's just slower getting there. Chicago's got its own problems. We're going to talk about that in a little bit, but it's the other places, that's bi-coastal, what's her name? Ramen in LA. That's why they want her in there, is because she's another socialist communist like Mamdani. They just want her on the other coast. But that's what we're getting, folks. And last night was more evidence, and that's how it's going to roll.
Yeah, it is. It's tragic and so frustrating to watch because it's so freaking unnecessary. Like it just does not have to be this way. And and I think of, and I'm very rarely a pessimist about things, but when I look at the scope of the effect of what is happening, it's just going to take so long to fix, because we've talked about, and we talked about it just in this episode, that the pendulum swings, and we as a nation, and not just us, all nations tend to do this wild swing where we can never land in the middle of anything. We always have to keep going from one extreme all the way over to the other extreme, and we never find that balance. And it's just such a darn shame. And if we've had that period of time where we were in the balance, somebody please tell me when it was, because I'd love to just simply learn more about that brief moment in time in our history where we was actually balanced. So if anybody knows that time, put it in the comments section so I can go learn more about it. But I don't recall ever seeing it in my lifetime. And I feel like it's just gotten so much worse with the stakes being so much higher, I think. I don't know. Maybe I'm just being doom and gloom. Maybe I'm in a doom and gloom mood, guys. I don't know. I'm sorry, but it makes me feel that way. Makes me feel very doom and gloom. But we're not done. We're not done. We got to stay with the doom and gloom, because then we're going to turn it around at the end. We're going to turn it around at the end, guys. I think. Let's talk about Chicago. You mentioned Chicago. Let's talk about it. You could take the lead on that one, please.
Yeah. So it's more evidence, and it leads into the same discussion. So Father's Day weekend, which you can have a whole discussion about how many fathers are running around Chicago.
Oh yeah.
It's less than there should be. 39 shot, 6 killed. In Chicago one weekend, and President Trump immediately did what President Trump does, and he reached out on social media and he said, I don't know what Mayor Johnson and Governor Pritzker are waiting for. If you just let me know, I will happily bring in the National Guard. We can, make this place safe in a month. We can make it one of the safest places in the country in a year. And the reaction, of course, is backlash. And I've seen it, obviously being much closer to it, I get it in local news feed kind of stuff. And I look at people's reactions and how people respond and those kinds of things. And it's the mix of please bring him in. And then you've got the people who are like, F Trump and he's, blah, 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 blah. And it's they're non-argument arguments, but you have the argument about gun control. Now now they've got an office of what is it? The office or the Department of Gun Violence within the police department of the CPD, right? And so it's this discussion of should we or shouldn't we? How I feel about National Guard policing the streets. It's not a place for them to be because of exactly what happened in Washington D.C. They're not armed appropriately. They're barely armed, if at all, to defend themselves. And in Washington, D.C., we had those 2 Guard members who both got killed.
Right.
And then you've got the idea of putting them in a bad spot of, will they in their own defense or in defense of property be forced to kill somebody, which is never a good position to put somebody in.
Yeah.
And so I'm not a fan of that.
Mm-hmm.
However, when you have 39 people get shot and 6 people get killed, there's got to be something more than the same old argument about gun control, right? That is not fixing anything.
No.
And I've got, friends from the region. I was talking to somebody a couple of weeks ago it was from Wisconsin, right? Just north of the border, who doesn't pay attention, purposely does not pay attention to Chicago if he can avoid it. And he saw Mayor Johnson on TV and he goes, I sat and I listened to that guy and he was statistics and he's an articulate speaker and all this other stuff. And I said, yeah, you're right. He is all of those things. It all sounds great. He goes, yeah, but then when I sat and thought about what he was saying, I realized, and this was a discussion about the Bears stadium, the Bears potentially leaving Chicago. And he was like, I realized everything he was saying was a lie. And I said, that's the problem. Everything that comes out of his mouth is a lie, but it's a very well delivered lie.
Yes.
With a lot of, numbers and figures. And
it's a brilliant tactic.
It's presented as facts, but the guy's terrible.
Yeah.
And that's what we get. Like he tried to blame President Nixon.
I saw that.
The shootings. Like how absurd is that? Like you could go all the way back to that.
Right.
Like, really?
It's just absurd. It's just, I watched it and I could feel my blood boiling.
Like I'm pretty sure that's before Mayor Johnson was born, President.
Yeah. Yeah.
But,
it's so insane. And, it goes back all the time to like a pretty simple question, I think, which is like, we've got these problems going on. They've been going on for a really long time. We're talking like decades, right? So what's the common denominator here? Like, what's the one thing that stayed the same this whole entire time? Well, the leadership. That's what's stayed the same the entire time. So it's at what point do people stop and go, maybe we need to do something different here? And that's where I and probably so many other people just get it's my other favorite word, fatigue. We get that fatigue that listen, this is so obvious from, sitting where I'm sitting. It's so obvious to most people. And yet there's no change, and I do get that whole feeling of your hands being tied and you're not being able to have any kind of effect or influence because you're just this one person and you're not political and you're not in politics and you're busy with life. Like you're just trying to raise your family and exist and live. But, at some point, people need to collectively come together and say, we can't do this anymore. We have to actually actively revolt against it. So no, I'm not calling for a civil war. Calm down, people. But I guess maybe in some degree, maybe I am in some way to say like, this needs to be a collective thing where enough people say we're not doing this anymore. We're not accepting it. And it has to be so overwhelming that the corruption and the cheating isn't enough. You know what I mean? I mean, it's the only way we got Trump this time around because it was so overwhelming that they couldn't cheat their way out of it, But again,
it's been 100 years. It's been 100 years in Chicago since there was a Republican mayor.
Years.
Yeah, it's not happening anytime soon.
No. In
fact, I don't expect it in my lifetime.
Yeah. And I've said this before as well. I always, every time when we have these types of conversations, I always think about the people, the innocent people who are just trying to survive. They're just trying to raise their family, and they just, finances, life, everything makes it so that they actually can't get out of the area that they're in. And they are stuck in this because of, just garbage humans and their greed and selfishness and truly lack of caring about their situation and their needs. And those are the people that are suffering all the time because of these monsters. They really are. So, yeah. So that sucks. Moving on. Moving on. All right. So listen, I'm not saying that this topic is any less eye roll worthy or anything, but at least we're going to get a little chuckle here. We're going to make it give us a little bit of chuckle. Let's talk about the reflecting pool. I mean, this gets so much more attention than so many more important things that are happening in the world, but yet here we are. There are a group of leftists that have made this their entire identity. And if you don't believe me, here are these coconuts.
Algae, let's go! Algae, let's go! Algae, let's go! Algae, let's go! Let's go! Algae, let's go! Algae, let's go! Algae, let's go!
Yeah, and that's enough of that. I mean,
they were cheering on algae. Those same people, did you see them leaning over the reflecting pool?
Yes.
And like they were sports fans.
Good job. Good job, algae. Yes. I mean, this is a number of things, right, guys? I mean, this is, mental illness for one. This is people who clearly need a life, like get a job, get a life. Some of you, these ladies maybe are retired. I don't know. They're probably on disability or something, some excuse for not working. Yes, there are people that are on disability for good reasons. Before anybody comes, I know. I knew as soon as I said, I'm like, oh, that's going to get misconstrued. No, I'm talking very specifically about these specific people. I'm talking about the people who abuse those benefits, which, I don't know if these people are or not. I'm just making guesses based on the time of day, their appearance, all of the things. So anyhow, I was thinking about this today when I pulled up that clip. My first reaction, it was a succession of reactions, rolling my eyes, shaking my head, getting a little bit like angry and disgusted about it, and like, mad that like, why are you people so stupid? And then I was like, gosh, this actually makes me sad. How sad is this? Like these ladies, they look like, I don't know about all of them. They look like they could be grandmothers, maybe, and like, this is time you could be spending with your grandchildren, or I don't know, maybe in their cases, they're 20 cats. I don't know, but right. I mean, this is time in your life, your later years in life, that you could be spending doing these just wonderful, good things. And you are standing outside cheering algae because you hate the president so much. Like, this is your identity. You are willing to look like an absolute moron for the sake of what? Like, what point? Like, this is what I think about. Like, what point? What is your goal? What do you think this is going to accomplish? Like, who cares this much about something so stupid? And your self-importance that people are going to, and yeah, granted, fine, you win because here we are, a podcast talking about you. But my goodness, this should not give you any sense of joy or satisfaction to be talked about like this, because there is no one that is sitting around talking about these women saying what a great deed they've done. What a great service to America.
To society. Yeah. So the pool itself, I know people have complaints because this was supposedly a no bid contract. It was supposedly to a buddy of President Trump's. I don't know if any of that is true. It may be. I don't know. The problem is that it was leaking before. It was leaking like crazy. It's been broken and leaking for decades, truthfully, and slow costing a lot of money. President Trump's attempt to rectify that as like seal it up so that it doesn't leak all the time and it doesn't cost money on a daily basis. And then the painting and everything else. Somewhere along the line, I think somebody lost the bubble on where that water comes from. And the fact that it is stagnant in the reflecting pool. And if you have stagnant water, you are going to have algae. But also that water comes out of the river. Like
Mm,
that's not drinking water. Like that's
right.
not somebody can come in there with 16-ounce bottles and fill that thing. So it's not perfectly clear water in the first place. Plus,
Yep.
it sounds like maybe some shoddy workmanship with the paint and the blue and all that other stuff.
Hmm.
Here's what I would ask of whoever is, Department of the Interior, whoever's running this thing.
Yeah.
Listen, admit that it didn't go well, right?
Hmm.
Admit that you're bringing the contractor back in to fix it. Like
Right.
anybody would at your house. Like you have somebody come in and do some plumbing
Sure.
work and they screw it up.
Yeah.
You don't,
They got to
it's
come
not
back.
your fault, right?
Right.
You call the plumber back, you bring them
Yeah.
back in, you make them fix it, you make them do it for free, right? And do it right. And so somebody from whoever's running this needs to have a press conference that says exactly that. Listen,
Right.
we got it. Here's what we tried to do. Here's what failed. Here's who's responsible. We're holding them accountable. We're bringing them back in. They're doing the work for free, blah, 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 blah. And they're going to do it to the standard at which we asked them to do it. Like, I think at that point, it diffuses the entire discussion. And everybody has to, they could come there. People are always going to complain, but I think you take a significant number of the complaints out of the discussion right away. They're just not, for all of the, Caroline Leavitt wins that we get out of this administration. This one's not, public relations wise, is not being handled well at all. And I think that's part of the problem. Yeah.
What are your thoughts on the accusations and seeming proof of, sabotage, destruction, vandalism, all of that?
I think it's far from out of the realm of possible. I mean, I would tell you that it's likely with the amount of things that we've seen with, tearing down statues and spray painting monuments and burning stuff and all this other, the simple idea of somebody just walking by and dumping something in there is not out of the realm of possible.
No,
I'm sure somebody
all.
with some kind of chemical engineering kind of brain was like, they sealed it with this compound. I think if we pour this in there, it will start to degrade that and it'll start to peel up. Somebody's smart enough to do that. And is it out of the realm of, and I think it's likely somebody did that.
Yeah.
So the hard part is,
they have some video, they have some people on video doing this, that, and the other thing, somebody reaching in, blah, blah, blah. But, I don't think there's anything that like is really ultra concrete. Like they had the guy, I think he was like a former Olympian or something.
Canoeist.
Yeah. Yes. Who apparently like tore a chunk out of the sealant or something, but they showed him being questioned and everything. I didn't see him like walking off with anything, which is not to say that he didn't. I just simply haven't seen video of that. So I mean that's a felony, right? Because that's destruction of federal property.
Yeah.
So
the National Mall, I'm confident, I'm not positive, but I'm confident essentially falls under the part, it's parks. Like that's the National Parks Department. So it's federal property, it's destruction of federal property. Like that is, a felony. So, or at least a felony of some degree. I don't know exactly what degree, but some degree. So, if they can find who did it, if there is in fact evidence of vandalism, which I'm confident there is, not confident there's evidence, but I'm confident that there's been vandalism there, then people should be held accountable, but it won't matter. People are still going to turn a blind eye. They're still going to say it doesn't matter. They're still going to complain about the price. They're still going to complain and complain and complain. So I think it's right now, priority number one is get the PR right. Get them back in there to fix this stuff immediately. That's
and again though, like what a crazy world we live in, that people are mad. People are mad that this administration is beautifying our monuments, our symbols, everything. Like what a jerk for wanting to make everything look beautiful. He sucks. Like
fabricated problems.
Yeah.
Mad about.
Can't even. We got a little time left. We're gonna make a little time. We got to talk about Tucker. I don't even think it's a big topic, to be honest with you. Just kind of like a hey, how about that? So Tucker Carlson just made a big point of saying that he's out of the Republican Party, and he cites loyalty issues and foreign policy gripes, like the whole Israel-Iran deal there. His core point, at least that he says, it's always the same gripe. It's him, MGT, and Megyn Kelly, maybe a little bit too, probably.
Depends on the day.
Ish. Not quite so much. I mean, they're kind of getting tied together quite a bit.
Probably Candace,
yeah, like their whole outward stance is it's supposed to be America first and it's Israel first. Like this is their constant their broken record, lament that we're supposed to be America first. It means America is actually first. And they believe that they're putting, of course, and there's supposed to be no wars and all of these things. So their big thing is talking about what they perceive as broken promises. Now, here's where I would agree in that, yeah, I'm all about America first. I'm 100% all about America first. But America first doesn't mean you ignore the rest of the world. And putting America first also means that in order for America to be put first, you have to be able to protect against all of these outside elements. So that means that you actually do have to get involved, right? Like you do have to have some involvement, because whatever's going on over there can very, very potentially and has and will come here if it's not dealt with. So, that's where they lose me. Like your whole America first thing, it sounds like you're saying we can't do anything about anything anywhere and just here. Like it's not logical, right? I mean, am I missing something, Clay?
No, they're very smart people who are being really stupid about diplomacy. And that's what it boils down to, is that like you said, America first doesn't mean America always, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you look at what was the purpose of the global war on terror, was to fight them over there, right?
Yeah.
To prevent them from coming here again and replicating and doing another 9/11. That was the whole point of going to Afghanistan. You could argue the whole Iraq thing, WMDs and all that other crap, but definitely going to Afghanistan. The whole idea was keep terrorism over there, right? But we were doing it ourselves with help of NATO nations. If you really and supported by everybody for the longest time, including people like Candace and Tucker and Megyn and all the rest of these people, right? Israel is under attack from terrorists every single day, right? Hamas, Hezbollah, take your pick of the H's, the Houthis, right? Everybody who's sponsored by Iran, they are fighting terrorism over there every day. Yeah. So we don't have to do it. But if an investment in them, right, gets you to the same outcome, or at least it fights the same larger fight, whether you support Israel or not, right, or you think that we're owned by Israel or whatever, the bottom line is that they're occupying or preoccupying at least 3 different terror organizations in the Middle East that aren't coming and being active here. So why wouldn't you be cool with that?
Yeah.
And so they don't understand, like, if you said America first, don't support Israel, then fine. The what happens with that is we stop supporting Israel. They stop getting any military and monetary support from the United States. And truthfully, the entire Middle East gangs up on them and Israel disappears. Well, you know what happens, folks? When they're done with that, what happens next?
Yeah, they're going to look for a new target.
Israel, then they go somewhere new, right? And that's what they're doing. That's what's happening in Europe. That's what's happening in England. And it's starting to happen here, right? And oh, by the way, if they don't have to worry about Israel and there's nobody sitting in the Middle East as these things are happening, keeping a watchful eye on them, they can do and build whatever they want. You remember when Al-Qaeda grew in Afghanistan because nobody was paying attention? Same thing, people. Like, and you know, I think this is just an excuse. Truthfully, I don't think that they're really, you know, they're doing it for clicks. I think, you know, Tucker's a weird guy. I think I've always thought he's a weird guy.
Yeah.
I think he's a nerd who got beat up in high school a lot, truthfully. You know, I think Megyn Kelly will go to whoever pays her the most money, whichever side of
Yeah.
the coin. I think Candace Owens is off her rocker. I think she
Yeah.
is legitimately mentally
Oh,
unstable.
she's bonkers.
And so, unfortunately, they have the biggest microphones right now, and
Yeah.
that's part of the problem. So, Tucker can leave. He claims, a lot of people claim he won the election for President Trump. I don't buy that either.
No, I definitely don't. I'd
And
credit Charlie Kirk more than anyone
yeah,
else,
I
you know?
agree. Yeah. And I
Yeah.
think him leaving, Tucker leaving, people say, okay, bye. They don't care. Like,
Yeah, I personally
nobody's jumping
don't.
ship to follow him.
No, no. And I think that's his, hope, because I think I know he did. He even referenced that, like, and if anybody follows suit, blah, blah, blah. So he's trying to rally his minions and
Yeah.
his, flying monkeys basically to side with him. And there will be people that do it. I mean, there's definitely a faction in it. And I just find the whole thing wildly disappointing and disheartening, that, their selfishness and their greed, that they would be so carelessly willing to divide a party that just simply, we can't afford it. We don't need it. It's not beneficial to anyone. The only one that's benefiting from this is them and their wallets,
Yeah.
because they're going to the
Exactly
highest bidder. I think there was something, and I don't know, I certainly don't know the names of people, but everybody becomes a detective, very quickly. And, somebody was saying that it's pretty coincidental, wink, wink, nod, nod, that one of his backers is, a foreign entity.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like, but again, they're going to pull support. They're going to, be part of what divides the party into, smaller groups and factions. And it's problematic, and it's a shame, and it's just gross and very disappointing to see. But, again, I agree with you, Clay. I don't care about
Yeah.
I don't care about Tucker Carlson. I don't care about Candace Owen. I don't even care about Megyn Kelly. I did like her, a lot. That's for me, that's gone. But
Yep.
yeah, I mean, all of it. I guess at the end of the day, for me as a, faith-based person, I always try and just bring it right back to, for me, the biblical lens of, putting my priorities where they are for me, and, what matters. And I stay kingdom minded. And I think that's why I can, like, take this stuff, be mad about it for 5 minutes, and then just go, you know what? So much more here going on than this. So I hope everyone is able, and whatever that means for y'all, and whatever that means for you in your life, I hope that you can take all of this that you are hearing and reading and listening to from us and from others and across social media and all of that. I hope you can take that all, have all the feelings about it, because we should care. We should be invested in this to a degree, right? To a point. It should not fracture your friendships and your, families and your relationships, and disrupt your life and your joy. So yeah, be aware, all of the things, but also keep it into perspective. So that's all I got, Clay. What do you got to close them out with?
Hey, folks, the World Cup is not ended. In fact, things are getting hot and heavy as of today. You're starting to see the standings in the group play are fleshing themselves out. You're going to start seeing teams get eliminated and teams for sure moving on to the knockout rounds. This is where and for me, a guy like me, the tournament's been, important and impressive and fun to watch since day one. But for casual watchers, this is where things start to get interesting. So stick with that. It's been great. The United States as a host has been fantastic, with the exception of California, which there's been some politics that has worked its way in. As sad as that is, please, the rest of the world, excuse us for California. But yeah, it's been great. We've got a whole nother month.
My goodness. What is the date of the culmination of all of this?
Championship game, I believe, is it the 19th? I think it's the 19th of July. So we've got a whole nother month left, and I want to say there's soccer pretty much every day or pretty close between now and then, which is awesome for me. But yeah, folks, you can follow me on social media. I'm doing multiple updates a day. Soccer all summer is what I'm calling it. So you can follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and catch those updates. But
tell them your handle. Tell them your handle.
C Novak author on Instagram, and on Facebook, just search my name. I think there's probably only one or two of me.
Awesome. I love it. All right, my friends. Thank you all for joining us for another episode of the Elsa Kurt Show with Clay Novak. We will see you next week. And don't forget to follow, share, subscribe, like, do all of the things. Okay. Thank you. We appreciate that. We'll see you next time, guys. Take care.
The headlines will change by tomorrow, but the patterns won't. Thanks for spending this time with us. We'll be back to keep asking the harder questions and telling the quieter truths. Until then, stay grounded, be discerning, and we'll see you next time.